the roll, Katarina?
Yes.
All right. Scaling value from IIoT Scene 2. All right, so thanks for coming back and joining the second session in our series on how to generate value from IIoT. And if you remember from the last scene, we were talking about the three elements that it takes to generate value at scale. So the first element is I need to have a concrete and valuable use case defined. So what problem do I want to solve with IIoT technology? The second element is I need to build a solution against that, so something that addresses the problem. And the third element to scale is I need to be able to replicate this solution across many sites, many customer installations, many plants in my network in order to replicate and multiply the value add of one individual implementation. Now, this is a circle, of course. The more implementations I have, the more ideas will come up, presumably successful ideas. And that is how you generate value at scale. Now, last time we finished that where I see the main challenges of this circle to happen is actually not so much the technology, but rather how do I get the use case? So how do I find ideas that can be addressed with IoT? And then the second thing is how to replicate it across multiple sites. Now today let's focus on this use case stuff, right? I mean, this is where everything starts. So how do I find ideas and generate ideas concrete enough that I can technically implement them and help people to generate value in a production system or in a general industrial environment? Now, in order to get there, the first question is, so who has the ideas for use cases? So what is the best source to come up with ideas, what I can address, which problems and challenges are out there to be addressed by IoT? So the question is, who has the use case ideas? All right, that's the question of today. And of course, when you think about that, I mean, there could be potential multiple sources in any company on this planet or any organization, right? So a first source could be your management. So management might be thinking about digitalization, defining targets for that, and might come up with some ideas. Another source, of course, typically in any company is your IT department, right? So information technology department, supporting all the IT processes, also involved in IoT projects. Might they have ideas? There might be other corporate functions like strategy or a CDO office, so digitalization office is here that far. And I think these are all potential valid sources. But I think one important source missing in this list is definitely so the OT, so the operation technology guys, the operators, so the people which are standing in front of a production line, or on your customer side, right? So the same people which are the operators, so the people that work with the systems as they are today and should be in the future. Now, if you ask me where is the best source based on my experience over the last 7 years, where do the most credible, tangible ideas come from? Now, management, for sure, they are a great source of driving the vision and setting targets. So what do I want to achieve on a company or group level? But typically, they are not involved in deep production technology, so it's hard for them to come up with a very concrete use case. Now, IT, I would say they have, of course, technology know-how, so how to build an IoT solution, but definitely they are most of the times not specialized in production systems and production processes. And all the details that a very qualified production process needs to be addressed with. Otherwise, you cannot really improve the output or achieve your value targets. So I would say IT definitely contributes, but I mean, I've rarely seen really a very concrete IIoT idea that really came out generically out of an IT department. Now, strategy and digitalization offices, I mean, of course they are important and they also are rather setting a vision or setting a program, but they also typically lack the experts. I mean, they are not production experts, so for them it's hard to really come up with a very concrete technical use case. I mean, of course, that leaves one main resource for the use cases, and these are the people which are really standing in front of the line. They are operating, they are driving production, they are driving your process. Might it be discrete process, logistics, supply chain. These people are really using the systems you're building. So for me, if you ask me, that is your source of the concrete use case ideas, right? They know how a press line works, they know how an ice cream filling line works, they know how water pump works. The people which are in OT, in operations, in service of operations, and your customers, they know where the problem is. Now, okay, so now let's assume we know where these use cases come from, so this group needs to be somehow enabled. Now the question is, how do I reap this group and this list of experts on generating ideas for use cases? What I've seen many times is that a typical approach of addressing, finding use cases and driving digitalization in general is a central PMO-based approach. So a central project, setting up PMO teams, setting up PowerPoint templates, inviting people, interviews, and so on and so forth. The problem is that most of these projects fail to really include the broad network of experts you have in your production setup or in your customer base or in your sales base. And with that really misses the opportunity to come up, first of all, with use cases which are concrete enough. And the second point is, of course, if these people bring up the use case for an IoT solution, they are the primary one that need to use it later on once you build it, so they are convinced and involved right from the beginning. And if you lack that opportunity, it's very difficult to roll it out. So what do I need to provide to these guys that they can contribute? And it's very simple, a structured methodology, which is self-service, where they can hand in use case ideas and qualify them for an IoT solution development. Scalable, structured, standardized, they know where to enter their idea, they know how to describe it, so that somebody can pick it up and build a solution against it. Now, that is how you enable them. So, enablement structure, you provide them a template, a process, a tool that allows them to really qualify their ideas. Now, what is required in order to have a certain use case? Last time we talked about it, it requires detailness, so what is the problem? But most importantly also it requires an attached value add to that. So in my opinion, and of course there are different ways of displaying that, but I think 3 or 4 elements are essential to really describe a use case. So the first element is in the foremost, where actually everything should start, is the target value. So what value do I want to address, achieve, generate? It can be, as described last time, go from 6 lifts per minute to 7 lifts per minute on my press line. It can be an OEE improvement, it can be a cost reduction, so something that qualifies a target value add. Now, in order to achieve this target value add, for most of the problems I've seen, there are certain value drivers to be addressed, right? So it's not that I just can switch off costs, but in order to influence costs, for example, I need to address certain value drivers which are attached to that. Or in order to increase OEE, I need to increase uptime, availability, and quality. So these are value drivers which actually generate my target value add. And the last element, which is important to describe the target, look, any process just generates additional value add if I change something in the process or in the way people behave, right? It's nearly impossible to generate the target value add if I don't change anything in operations and how people work and how processes work. So people and process change, which drives value drivers and then the target value add, that's the last element that somebody needs to describe in order to say, hey, I need to achieve a target value add. This value add is based on certain value drivers, right? So you need to influence certain value drivers. And in order to achieve these value driver improvement, I need to change certain processes which I'm currently operating in. Now that is a description of quantifiable, structured description of how I generate the target value add. Now the second input that an operator or an expert in your network needs to provide in order to set the use case up for building an IoT solution is, so what are the data sources and resources I can put into the problem, right? So which assets we're talking about, which data sources are there in the field that can be used used for an IoT solution in order to build something that actually drives those people and process change and generates a target value add. Now with these elements, this is a structure where I can pick up in a structured manner and work an IoT solution out for that. The IoT solution, of course, is actually what is here in the middle. This is the IoT solution that needs to convert the inputs provided by assets or data sources or something I can connect into a structure that then allows to drive people and process change, which drives the value drivers and the target value add. That is what your experts need to be able to provide in a seamless, scalable, understandable, transparent manner. If you don't get that thinking in your expert network, it's very hard to get this circle started with concrete use cases. Now, what is required in order to really kickstart the circle on the use case side? As I said, you need something, a structure, a methodology, a tool chain, which allows your experts to provide these use cases in a very scalable manner. That's the first thing, right? It doesn't help you if you have a PMO set up and among 2 months, which the PMO is running, there are 2 sessions on workshops and idea generation when your experts are out in the field trying to get your production up, trying to get your output out. They don't have time, these experts, they are there to produce. So they need a tool chain or something which allows them to generate their idea when they have time for the idea or when they observe the failure of your process or the challenge they have. Then the second thing is, I think is very important, it needs to be self-service, right? So again, it's about scalability. If you need to send out project teams to your experts to generate an idea, this will not scale, right? You can do it once or twice, but paying experts the whole day traveling through your network is very difficult or through your customer base. And I think the third element is really it needs to be transparent, right? So the expert needs to know, hey, I provided a use case, what is happening with the use case? Are they building something against it? Do I get a solution for that? How am I incentivized to do that? That's another important aspect of transparency, so do I get some credits for that? And I think these are some key elements. I mean, maybe the incentive topic should be also one element explicitly listed. In order to kickstart this process of people thinking through their problems they have out there in the field and really the experts which are standing in front of your machine, and then formulating it in a scalable, manner, providing this information to you and your central team so that somebody, and we'll talk about who that somebody is and how we do that, in your IIoT team can start to build a technological solution against it, and all interconnected from your assets up to the target value add. So target value add, value drivers and people and process is for me an essential part of your IoT stack. It's not an output of your IoT stack. Yeah, you need to design it into your technological solution. All right, so that's what we think here at Industry Reply and AXULUS about how to scale value from IoT, how do you generate use cases, and the answer to the question, are your experts empowered? I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next scene where we then talk of course about the other problems we see or the challenges you need to address in order to scale value from IoT. All right, thank you very much, and see you in scene 3. Thanks.